I'm Chryssoula Lionis. I'm one of the curators from Carving Negative, which is a program that has gone to Tinos, Chalkida and Lesvos. My wing of the program has been in Lesvos. I'm a cultural producer and researcher based between Manchester and Athens, working on contemporary art and sites of crisis and the use of humour in contemporary art practice. So what was unique about this program was the method that we used both in carrying out the workshops but also the preliminary work, working and selecting artists, by which I mean there were 3 curators. Each were asked to choose 2 artists to contact and to ask if they were willing, in effect, to gift an idea and to gift over the authorship of that idea to communities that they didn't know. And so I contacted 2 artists and the other 2 curators selected another 2, 6 in sum. So we come to Lesvos with 6 ideas, 2 of which I was familiar with, and the practice of 2 artists I was quite familiar with. The 4 entirely new and surprising. What was particularly interesting about this as a method is that when you're doing social practice, the emphasis is on what's actually happening or the engagement between people as being the work. This was both about that, but also about the outcome. So we would work as a group, we'd talk through the ideas gifted to us from artists, and then we'd think about an artistic action, gesture, work that would come out of these. So it was both social practice, but it was also outcome, and it was also about a new idea of authorship, where the artist recedes and the community becomes a new form of author and artist. And that was particularly exciting. The other thing that was particularly exciting is the new forms of knowledge and the knowledge systems that came into executing these works that I think would not have otherwise been there. The kind of curious thing about this is it's not a traditional curatorial role, which means that you don't have a selection of works. You don't actually know what you're going to come out with materially at all. So what that might mean is that you're taken to a place where you feel uncomfortable, out of your depth, and as if you're learning something entirely new. In our case, that involved for me an engagement with a local that didn't feel entirely comfortable. So new artists that we were working with, community members, felt more connected or in place to literally climb over a pickup truck of a stranger passing down the street. As a curator, that for me, and as a curator, as an outsider that lives between Athens and Manchester and not Lesvos, that the politics of that felt very complicated, and that comes out in the work, I hope. The other thing that I will be really walking away from this program with is a sense of what are the ingredients that you need to put in place to create a space of care, of listening, of respect, of a fertile space for creating work together. I have to think through that because it was a kind of profound experience of people being very open and generous with each other's ideas, their spaces, and for me, really personally and importantly, with their memory. So memory of place and their own personal memories that got folded into the 6 artistic gestures that we put together over 2 days. So on the question of whether this method, that is to say of an artist gifting an idea to be executed by an unknown community that then become artists, would work in another space, the first thing that comes to mind is spaces of play where there's no pressure for an outcome. And I think this is also very important to mention, is that people didn't feel like there had to be a concrete outcome. So it was a space of play and discussion. Whether it was possible in any other way, only through theft, only through when someone takes someone's story and claims it's theirs, and that's very different to what's happening here. What was happening here was a space of care and of play, and no, I can't think of something analogous. And I think that that is largely because there wasn't the pressure for an outcome. It was about the experience of working together towards something new. The very interesting thing, because I'm suspicious of fly-in, fly-out artistic approaches a lot of the time. So in this, it was very interesting to see how this kind of method might create an art practice that is geared toward an actual generative discussion with local community members. And I think that's because it's not outcome based. It's about working together to build something. And the very interesting thing is when you travel to a place, one of the first things you do is you ask people for insight into food or what to eat or where to go, etc. This was a really intensive experience of unpacking and peeling away layers of place through sustained conversation over hours. And that was one of the really, if not for me, the most joyful experience in taking part in this program.